what if I told you that Flins is the 4th strongest DPS in the game, but has a major issue? So here's everything you need to know about Flins at the moment. Flins is an electro DPS from Nordcry whose best teammate, just like everyone expected, is Ennefa. But before we discuss his kit or his reliance on Ennefa, let me first mention his general rotation, which will help you understand his kit better. You begin by pressing the skill button twice, followed by burst, normal attack spam, press the skill button again when the cooldown ends, follow it up with a burst, normal attack spam for approximately 4 seconds, and that's it. Now I know most of you didn't register that, so I'm gonna have this rotation on screen while explaining his kit, cause that will make it easier to understand. And with all that being said, let's get right into it. Starting off with his elemental skill, which makes him enter an enhanced state for 10 seconds where his normal attacks are converted to electro-infused attacks, and these attacks are so great that they are 9% of Flyn's total damage output. Now besides this, he also gains increased interruption resistance with his skill being replaced with the special skill. So when you press the skill button again, he throws a bunch of spears dealing negligible electro damage and enables a special burst for 6 seconds, which can be done at a fraction of the cost with the skill itself going on a 6-second cooldown. But before we discuss his burst, we first need to understand a core Nordcry mechanic, which is racism. And I'm not kidding when I say that, because you see, Nordcry characters and artifacts have an inherent racist effect within them, wherein their effects are activated when there are Nordcry members in the party. For instance, the new artifact set states that the crit rate is increased by 15 or 30% when the party's moon sign is nascent or ascendant, which in layman's terms means 1 or 2 Nordcry characters in the party. And this is not just limited to artifacts. This is also the case with character skills like Flynn's elemental burst or Llama's passive. Another important concept we have in Nordcry teams is the racism light concept. You see, when you have 2 Nordcry units in the party, that will also allow non-Nordcry units in the team to give lunar reaction damage bonus whenever they use their skill or burst. And this buff varies based on the element of the non-Nordcry unit. Like for Hydro units, it's 0.6% for every 1000 HP they have. For Geo units, it's 1% for every 100 points of defense. For Pyro, Electro and Cryo units, it's 0.9% for every 100 points of attack. And finally, for Anemo and Dendro units, it's 2.25% for every 100 points of elemental mastery. Do note that this buff caps out at 36%, and this essentially makes it so that unless you have units like Ino C6 who give lunar reaction damage bonus through their kit, you're gonna want to run 2 Nordcry units with 2 non-Nordcry units in the party to max out this buff. But coming back to Flynn's, he has 2 types of bursts like Varesa. One is an animated burst which drains all energy and does a big AoE electro attack, followed by 3 additional electro attacks which are considered as lunar charge damage. Now here comes the racism part. If there are 2 Nordcry characters in the party, including Flynn himself, and a lunar charge thundercloud is also present on field, then he'll deal 2 additional electro attacks considered as lunar charge damage on top of the 3 additional hits done before, totaling 5 direct lunar charge hits. As for his special burst, it costs less energy and, like I said before, is activated when you press the skill button in his enhanced state, making the skill go on a 6-second cooldown. So this burst also does an AoE electro attack, and if there are 2 Nordcry units in the party and a lunar charge thundercloud is also present on field, then an additional hit considered as lunar charge damage will also be dealt. And this mini burst is what you'll be doing with him all the time, since that will result in the most damage. As for his passives, the first one is literally the same as in Nefa's, wherein all electro charge reactions are converted to lunar charge reactions when Flynn is in the party. On top of that, the reaction's base damage is increased by 0.7% for every 100 points of attack he has for up to 14%. Moving on to his next passive, this one increases lunar charge damage dealt by him by 20%. Though this passive is racist as it requires 2 Nordcry characters in the party to be activated. And finally, the last passive increases his elemental mastery by 8% of his attack for up to 160 EM, meaning it caps out at 2000 attack. So to summarize his entire kit, you start the rotation by pressing the skill button to enter the enhanced state, gaining electro infusion and transforming the skill into the special skill. Next, press the skill button again to deal minor electro damage to the enemy and enable the special burst. Now use the special burst followed by normal attack spam until the skill cooldown ends, after which you press the skill button again to re-enable the special burst, which you use and continue spamming normal attacks till his electro infusion runs out. As for his passives, they are pretty much just basic damage increases and nothing more. And if you have been enjoying this video so far, then a sub to the channel would make you win every 50-50. And if you want to support even more, scroll 2 inches down this video and click the subscribe plus button to join the channel memberships and gain exclusive perks like directly DMing me on Discord or even a Genshin account review. So now that we understand his kit and the not crime mechanics, there are some issues with him, starting off with the elephant in the room, racism. Now, if you have been listening to what I have been yapping, you would know that he requires at least one additional Nordcry character in the team to even have his kit functioning fully, which is just bad game design in my opinion. Next is the over-reliance on Innefa, without whom his damage takes a major hit. You see, his best team at the moment is with Innefa, Yelan and Sucrose, and this team's DPS is around 100,000, but if you don't have Innefa, then first of all you will have to put a Nordcry unit in the team to even enable his kit, which will most definitely be Ino. Next, you will have to find a replacement for Innefa herself, which in this case can be Fischl, Sara or Iansan, but these teams on average have a DPS of 75,000, which is a massive drop in damage. And while we are talking about that, you probably remember me in the beginning of the video saying that his electro-infused normal attack damage is literally 9% of his total damage output. And what this means is that most of his damage comes from Lunar charge. And because of this, he's an absolutely useless unit outside of Lunar charge teams because his damage will be abysmal. Case in point, an overload team with him is literally 50,000 DPS, which is just downright horrendous. And speaking of teams, you would have noticed by now that there is no shielder or healer in any of his teams, which means you either play like a god or risk getting one-shotted or even two-shotted by enemies in endgame modes like Abyss or Stygian. However, the main positive to Flins at the moment is that if he doesn't get nerfed, he'll only become broken in the future with other support characters, especially Columbina, who I feel will be a DPS and support like Mavrika. But obviously that's just a theory. Another positive is strong early constellations, so if you do get a double 5-shot drop on accident, then you will know that your Flins just got a hell of a lot stronger, because his C1 essentially decreases the cooldown on his special burst from 6 to 4 seconds, which means it can be done twice when he is on field, increasing his damage by over 30%, which is just insane. Overall, I'd say that Flins at C0 is a really strong DPS in Lunar charge teams and trash otherwise. He also has noticeable energy issues as the majority of his damage comes from the too many bursts in his rotation, which can lead to overkilling and therefore wasted damage in multi-wave content. But my biggest gripe with him is the fact that he cannot plunge in his enhanced state, making him totally unplayable.
To show me you finna see, no past and no future. That's what I need.